Okay, so this is ninth session corresponding to machine learning course, and we have just discussed that today's agenda is more about decision trees, random forest, ensemble modeling, and the optimization of decision trees. So random forest and ensemble modeling will be going to talk about later on. Firstly, we'll be going to start with decision trees. What is it? How to work on that? How it is different than SVM or SVR or linear regression or so, and then how to implement that, and then at last we're going to work on how to optimize that, and meanwhile you will be implementing it by your own as well. So let's first understand that what is decision tree. In a general term, decision tree is nothing but a simple if else kind of skeleton. What is the meaning of if else kind of skeleton? When you implement if else, so you implemented something like this: if a condition, this is a condition, you say the value of this condition can either be true or false. Okay, you said something like a greater than 5. Okay, it's difficult to draw. Well, let's say x greater than 5. Okay, this is what you said. Now it can either be true or be false. Now if it is true, what you want to do? Again, you can put up another condition. Okay, if x is greater than 5, is that x? Okay, so true and false I'm writing right here. True and the path for false. Now if this x is greater than 10 or not, it can again either be true or be false. And this is the last node. So what we are doing, we are defining the number into three classes: class 1, class 2, class 3. Okay, so what we have done in simple terms, we have defined a value of ax. If it is less than 5, then it is class 1. If it is greater than 5, then there are two possibilities, it can be 2 or 3. But if it is greater than 5, so we need to check with if it is greater than 10 or not. Even if it is greater than 10, then it is class 3. So greater than 5, then greater than 10, that means the biggest number. And if it is greater than 5 but not greater than 10, that means 6, 7, 8, 9 type of numbers, and even 10 as well. So they are class 2 numbers. So 1 to 5 right here. Okay, and then 6 to 10 right here, and then 10 11 onward right here. This is the way we have distributed. Now this is simple if else, but what is there in our data set? Our data set would get splitted in the help of decision tree with the help of a feature and label format. See, we have a label and the possible value into this are true or false. Suppose we are talking about fraud or not, cancer or not, or something like mm, anything like this, any binary stuff for now. Okay, so we are talking about not multi, we are talking about binary class classification. So we have a full feature set for this true, full feature set for this false, full feature set for this true. This is how our data set look like. Now what our decision tree will be going to do? Our decision tree will be going to implement a tree from the starting node to the ending, all the endings, into which entire of the endings are either true or false. Okay, that means that right here the data will be highly pure into these and these module. The data will be highly pure. The impurity will be 0 and the purity will be 100%. This is what simply a decision tree would be doing. Is this basic part clear? Basic intuition of decision tree clear? Then I'll come ahead for the next part. Okay, I'll repeat. So what would a decision tree be doing? It is taking your feature set. Okay, suppose you have a feature set of 4 features. Okay, feature A, let it be your height, weight. Okay, and what else is required in order to check? I want to check for something like obese or not. Okay. So I need height, I need weight, I need age, and I need gender. Okay, I'm just predicting obese or not. I'm not like, let's take it like this. Now our decision tree would be starting from the entire data set. This is the big pool of data set. This X train simply. Okay, and then we are keep splitting that data in some or the other condition. Something like this. The things are going on. Now there are a few terminologies we'll be going to talk about just in next couple of minutes. But as of now, this tree will keep on expanding and expanding and expanding till all the last nodes, these are known as leaf nodes, all the leaf nodes will be completely pure. What do I mean by pure? All the trues are here and here and here, suppose. Okay, and all the falses are here. That means in one particular leaf node there is either a true or a false. So there is only a single class. This is what I mean by purity. So till all the leaf nodes would be completely pure. This tree keep on expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding, and now it keeps on working like this. Is this clear now, Amar? This is how does a simple decision tree operates. Okay. Now I have a question to you that we have talked about in the early stages of machine learning. We have talked about that there is something like intelligence based programming and there is something like rule based programming. This is a classical example of rule based programming, like if else. Then how can we put this into a machine learning context? If this is a rule based stuff, how can we put it into a machine learning context? Or even this, my question to this is still open, that is this a rule based programming? Do you think so? Because we are defining the rule. If age is greater than 20, if height is greater than 50, if gender is equals to male, or whatever. The types of programming. So we have talked about one thing, types of programming techniques rather, I would say. So there is one thing like rule based programming, which we used to do. We define the array, we call the array, we do all the stuff, everything is prefixed. And there is another thing like intelligence based programming. So in intelligence based programming we talk about predictions, we talk about the analogy wherein we write the code and machine makes the prediction. So we ask the intelligence, we ask the question from the intelligence of machine. This is what intelligence based programming means. Then how can this be placed into the context of machine learning? It's rule based programming. Okay. And what about others? What do you think? It's a rule based programming or it is intelligence based programming? All of you. Give your opinion, whether it be right or wrong, that's okay. Just give your opinion. By help of ML, it can choose and predict the right output. Okay, well, Amar, the thing is, it cannot choose and predict the right output with the help of ML. What is ML? ML is nothing but the kind of operational methods. So the some of the way of statistics or linear algebra or so. So in this case there is no linear algebra, in this case there is no statistics. It is simply making a kind of tree type structure into which you are giving an input and it is being passed through certain amount of questions, and when the answer is yes, it branches to some other way, and when the answer is no, it branches to some very another way, and we are just calculating the target destination with this. Intelligence based because we give some condition and it works on them on its own. It can help in categorical or classification based analysis. Actually, these trees are known as CART trees. I write it there for your reference. CART. CART. What does that mean? It means classification and regression technique. Okay, so these trees are known as CART. Now, that means basically it do provide support for classification, but it also provides support for regression as well. But that is a minimalistic part. The over looking out part is classification. And when you look out the entire of the machine learning, major part is being covered by classification itself, prediction. When we are discriminating whether this is true or it is false, whether this is male or is female, whether this is a dog or a cat or a lion or what, that's what classification means. Now coming on to this opinion of mine, obviously we are studying it under machine learning, so that means it is the part of machine learning. That's obviously true, right? We are not studying it alongside FLs or alongside arrays or so. So it's obviously a part of machine learning. But the question is how? The thing is that in the FLs we had conditions that if W is greater than 20 then do this, otherwise do this. If height is greater than 1.5 meter then do this, otherwise do this, or whatever. But in this case we are giving the input, the tree is taking the input. What happens in a traditional machine learning pattern? Let's understand. So what we do, we have a black box into which there is some y is equals to mx plus b type of equation working. And this is known as our model. So we give the input, it predicts the output. But how does this model get trained? So we have a feature set and the corresponding labels for them. So what we say in a model training procedure, wait, what do we pass? We pass the features only. Okay, this is what my model training procedure look like. We pass the feature, to different layer of neurons if we are talking about deep learning, or to different statistical functions when we are talking about machine learning, and then these features yield up some output. This output is then compared with this particular label, and if it is true then it will be stored, if it is false then the model will be retrained. This is known as backpropagation. So this is more about deep learning context. Okay, this is the way a simple general model get trained. So it is kind of feedback based learning from the prediction, true prediction and the actual true prediction and true y and the predicted y. We compare them and we tweak the model accordingly, and over a period of time and over the period of data set, a group of data set, the model gets trained. Similarly, what we are doing right here is in the decision tree part is exactly the same. We are giving the feature, we are getting some labels. Now at the end what we are doing, we are evaluating that this particular label is exactly same as the true label or not. If it is not same, then do something a bit more extra in your model, and if it is same, then move to other. This is the way basically a simple decision tree would be operating. Now why it is a part of machine learning? Because we are not defining the condition. What condition would be there? Right here, the first thing, wait here. The first thing we are talking about, should it be a gender, should it be height, should it be weight or age or what? The second thing we are talking about, should they be weight or height or what? If that is weight, So what is my cutoff? If weight is greater than 50 or 40 or what? We are not defining any of the things into this. This is auto detected. The benefits of using decision trees are that they are very much intuitive. What do I mean by intuitive? That they are very much easy to describe. So whenever there is something which involves business, non-technical people, presentations, explanation of model, it's highly preferred to use tree-based model. I give you one example. I told you about American Express, the leading company into credit card or into finance or into like credit based mechanism. Obviously they have good amount of technical team, they can hire any deep learning engineer, and obviously they would be having some deep learning engineers in their team. I told you about the data set that they captured 2 crore rows in a day. Okay, so there are 2 crore transactions going on in a day with American Express. And what do they capture from every transaction? They capture 12,000 features. That means one row will be of 12,000 feature, and same way 2 crore rows would be for 12,000 features each. So that means the total data set they are having is 2 crore multiplied 12,000. That means 24,000 crore in a day, and this used to happen every day. Okay, if not 24,000 crore, it would be 20,000 crore every day on an average. Like if it is not the average value, then it will be the average would be 20,000 crore minimum. Now handling 20,000 crore data point is something really, really, really big, and that even you need to perform in 0.03 seconds, 0.04 seconds, because the customer would not be waiting after swiping the credit card. He'll be like, I have swiped the credit card. It should be either approved or declined, and that should be done in a fraction of second. Now I'll tell you about a bit of story, and from where I get to know about story, I'll not take the name of the person. I'll endorse him. I have few friends into American Express who are data scientists and into data division, and who are working with particularly with decision making processes of machine learning and deep learning. They earlier tend to use deep learning, and it seems like a joke, but seems like a funny story, but it is that obviously American Express is something which is being used by top people, the people who can afford that this credit card is something which requires your permission to be afforded, because it is something like which will charge you 10,000 or 12,000 rupee per year whether or not you use it, the card fees only, and the interest rate is even high, but the thing is the services are also high. So it's something luxury. A big rich person in the America has used that credit card. His transaction got declined, and he turned out to be the friend of Bill Clinton. Okay, that person just called. At that moment of time, India was handling the Indian American Express. The American Express Indian part was handling the machine learning particular sub-region of that entire American Express. Machine learning or deep learning, particularly that time it was deep learning. So what do I mean by this is the decision making was done, the algo was designed by the Indian subcontinent. Okay, the Indian version of American Express. So it was like around 1:30 or 1:30 or 2 a.m. in the early night. Okay, in the very like after midnight. Now the thing is that at that time they got a call that this is the VVIP person, and his transaction for some 40 lakh US dollar or so has got declined, and it was although a big amount for, but when the image of that person was placed into context, that seems to be like a normal amount, because you can understand he was someone, a known friend, a close friend of Bill Clinton, so the standard of person would be definitely higher. Okay, so now at that moment of time the entire decision making team stood up, worked on that, and tried to fiddle out that what is particularly wrong in our model that his transaction got declined. And what is turned out, the result was that deep learning was unable to tell you the reason, because it is nothing but a collection of neurons which are keep on getting trained and trained and trained and trained and trained with some numbers and numbers and numbers, and at the end they will end up, at the end what will coming up from a deep learning model is some configuration, some array of number. There will be no reasoning behind it. Whereas in the case of deep learning, you have a path to follow. So suppose this is the case where a transaction get failed. So you have a path to follow. That You have transacted that on 2 a.m. That's why it didn't go there. You have transacted that on a new shop or earlier shop. So it is on new shop. Okay. That is one of the reason. Then you have transacted for out of limit. Obviously, that was not the case. I'm just taking a hypothetical scenario when I was talking about decision tree part. And at last, we have a path to follow. And with this path, the people now are able to answer the queries asked by any of the person if they think that it is important to answer. Internally, they can answer anything, but obviously they won't come to every person and say, okay, this is the reason why your transaction got failed, this is the reason why your transaction got failed. Not like this. But internally, their architecture is so solid that they can answer each and every query of any person if they want to. That is why currently the leading, the most top prominent credit card company, finance company is using a tree-based model. Obviously not so simply like model is equals to decision trees and model.fit. No, they use ensemble learning, they use gradient boosting. Okay, they use hyperparameter in very wise way. They go for great scale of pre-processing. It's not like you do model.fit and you become American Express. Obviously no, they are using tree based model but in a very deeper manner, very fine, perfect manner they're using it. And the algorithm which was last being used into American Express, which was last disclosed, was gradient boost combination with linear regression. So gradient boost, what is gradient boost? We'll be going to talk about boosting right there. So then we'll be going to talk about it. Okay, coming back to enough of stories, coming back to the decision tree part. Now this is a decision tree. Now the question arises that how would it get to know that how do I need to split, on which particular feature, on which particular value I need to split. So for that there is something known as Gini index. It's GINI. And there is one more way for this is known as entropy. Okay, entropy, that the entropy which you have studied into chemistry or so. There are two ways to split the trees, the two mechanisms of splitting the trees. Let's understand these two ways one by one. So firstly, I'll be going to talk about entropy, and another name for entropy is information gain. Okay, not writing here, I can write here as well. So it will be like information gain. This is what an entropy is. Entropy means information gain. Now what does this entropy do? That this is your node. These are the two nodes it got split into, and these are the two nodes it got split into. What entropy will check whether or not to split? From right here, it will check whether the entropy of this one and this one, the total entropy of this one is better than the entropy of this one or not. Better means lesser in this case. What is the meaning of entropy? The degree of randomness, the freedomness to move, the non-associability. So what do we want? We want non-degree of randomness. We want our child node to be comparatively more pure than this node. We want to head over to the purity. So if you want to move towards the purity, we want entropy to be lesser. That means what do we want to say? That entropy into this layer, this entire layer, should be lesser than the entropy into this layer. Okay, this is what we want to say right here with this entropy. Is this part clear? That what is entropy all about? Entropy is degree of freedomness. Okay, and it is the concept is borrowed from chemistry itself. When you have talked about entropy of an element, entropy of gas, entropy of solid, entropy of liquid, so which has more degree of freedomness, FREEDOM. So entropy was nothing but the freedomness of molecules or atoms to move around, something like this. It was entropy. Okay, and if you remember, there was something like S to denote the entropy, and there was something like enthalpy, almost concerning. I'm not much into chemistry as of now. So entropy is nothing but the degree of freedomness, that how free your molecules or atoms are, that in the case of chemistry, and how unpure your components are in the case of decision trees. Okay, So which has the higher entropy rate? Gas, solid, or liquid? In the case of chemistry, gas has more entropy because the molecules are very much free to move around. You can see that in a cylinder, there could be 1 kg gas, there could be 100 kgs gas. It can be compressed to a level and it will be fitted. Now it can move around, but the thing is, solid has definite shape, definite structure. A particles in the solid cannot freely move around. That's why entropy of gas was higher. Right here in this case, we have a big data set into which there are a lot of class 1 values, lot of class 2 values, lot of class 3 values, and so on. This has higher entropy. What we want to solidify the things, that we want our data should be as much pure. With purity, what will come? That all the truths on one side, all the falses on another side, something like this. So this is what we want, and this will definitely not be executed in one split. It needs a lot of splits, lot of hierarchical splits, and at that moment of time, at last, you will get the completely pure data. This is what the entropy method or information gain method describes, and this is what it it formates the basic functionality or basic fundamental structure of decision tree. Is it clear? Amar, Rimjim, Jerin, Ashish, all of you. What about others? All right, Amar, Nitika. Okay. Now let's talk about what is Gini index. So Gini was the name of a scientist. Some Nikita's out for some. Okay, all right. So Gini was the second name of a particular scientist of not scientist, statistician basically. So I'll just see what was the name for you. Not full form. Okay, so the name of the person might be, will get something like here. Yeah, Corrado Guinea. Corrado, however will pronounce that, something like this Guinea. Okay, so he was a statistician who has given some statistics or some insight to the data split. Now, what does that mean? So this is a score. Now this is something which you want to reduce over the layers. We want to reduce the entropy. Whereas this is something which you want to increase. Okay, Gini is something to be increased. Now how does Gini would be working? It is a score that in a sample, this is a sample. Okay, in a in a leaf node basically right here. How many, what is the probability that if I pick any sample it turn out to be true, suppose, then what is the probability that any other sample to be drawn randomly would again be a true? Okay, now it is almost related to information gain, but has a different statistical formula only. That is the only difference, because when the entropy will be lesser, we will be moving on to the general, the precise thing, and we move on. When we move on to the precise thing, then we are obviously increasing the probability of the same element to come again. Okay, what is Gini index? Suppose you have a group of 700 people. Out of those 700, 200 have Android phones and 500 have iOS phones, and you have splitted them. Now, if you have picked an Android phone person, or suppose the majority is iOS phone, so if you have picked an iOS phone person, and you check that what is the probability of any other person, if you draw any other person randomly, that what is the probability? So it will be 5 by 7, 500 by 700, 5 by 7. So let's see what is 5 by 7. 0.7142. All right. Now what you have done, you have made something like you have classified them on your on their gender or age or something, whatever. The next turn come out to be that there is a split of 355, 355, 350, 350 people. Out of them, in one of the 350, 345 people are using iPhones and 5 rest people are using Android. Whereas on the other side, 195 people are using Android and rest of the 405 people are using iPhones. Am I right with numbers? 405. No, not exactly. So it was a total of 350, right? So 195 people are using Android, and rest of the people, whatever the number is, 155, they are using iPhones. Now, yeah. So now, as we have split it in a part, where in the first part, out of 350, 345 people are using iPhones. So if I pick any iPhone person and if I randomly draw any person, so the probability is 345 by 350. Let's see that. So this was 0.7142. Remember that. So we have 345 by 350, and it is 0.98. So this is where we want to target, and at last we want to turn it 100. This is what the simple phenomena of Gini index is. That Gini index should be higher and higher, should keep on working higher and higher and higher and higher. Is it clear, like how does Gini index operate? Is it clear that what is the difference between Gini and entropy, and what is Gini index, what is entropy, and all of that? Not clear. Okay, wait, I'll just redefine that. Okay, all right. So how Gini works in decision trees, that is the actually question I was trying to explain. I'll repeat that again once more. What the things are. See, what was going on into entropy, that we are restricting the entropy. We are reducing the entropy by some numbers, that by reducing the entropy, we are moving over more to the solidification of the thing. What do I mean by solidification? Right here. That means we are moving on to the integrity in the things. And so measure of our sample would be pure. The purity rate will become higher and higher and higher. Whereas in the case of Gini index, again we are doing the same thing, but the way of evaluation is different. In Gini index, we are calculating the probability that if we draw two samples randomly from the given data set, from the given particular node, then those two samples would be identical. What is the probability of this? If we are having uniform data, that means out of 100, all the 100 elements are same, that the probability will be 100. If we are having non-uniform data, that means if that out of 100, 78 people are of Android mobile phone and 22 people are of iOS mobile phone. So that means the data is not uniform. So then our probability will also be less. And if the data is equally splitted, 50-50, that means the probability will be definitely very, very less. So we want to work to move towards the purity. So that's why we'll be working on the Gini index to increase and increase and increase and increase the probability of two numbers to be drawn randomly should be the same. This is what does a simple Gini index and entropy works like. Right, is it clear now to all of you? Is it clear now to all of you? Like moving towards result of Bernoulli trial, something like that. Not exactly, but something like that. Yeah, Gini index should turn out higher with the depth, whereas entropy should be turned down lower with the depth. The more you go ahead and ahead, Gini index should be higher, entropy should be less. Just like the accuracy and loss. Accuracy should keep on working higher, loss should keep on going lower. Should be same at side. I didn't get it. Jaren, I didn't get your question. That what do you mean by the characteristic of node should be same at side? I didn't get it. Yeah, child node should be higher than the parent node. Jaren, actually I'm not getting the question, so can you please turn on your audio and narrate that in the voice, with the voice? I'm not getting your question. That can you explain from that leaf node should change. I didn't get it. Okay. So what do I want to describe with this is that when you move from parent node to root node to child node, the Gini index should keep on going higher and higher and higher and higher, which is irrelevant to this node and this node. If this is your question, these two nodes should be non-connected. The total Gini index of both of them should be higher than the total Gini index of this layer. This is what does a simple mechanism look like. Child node, sum of the Gini index of child node should be higher than, higher Gini index means higher probability that two randomly drawn instances would be same. That if I choose two random people out of the dataset, they both will be either using Android or using iPhone. That means if the probability is higher, then obviously our dataset is more true, more pure. Okay. All right. So then I want to talk about some simple terminology which we have even used while in last 15-20 minutes, but still it is very simple that you must have got it. That this is the root node. This is what we call the root node or the start node. Then there is a relationship of parent node and child node. So whichever node is getting splitted is known as parent node, and into what node it is getting splitted is known as child node. So these are child nodes for this parent, these and these are child nodes for this parent. Okay, so there is a root node, there is a parent node, there is a child node, there are edges, and obviously all the circles denotes nodes. Okay, moreover, there is something like termination node or leaf node. So this is a leaf node. Leaf node means the last node which is not getting splitted. Simple terminology. I don't think so any doubt would be there into this part. Okay. Now let's head over to the implementation of this decision tree. And what is the implementation look like? Exactly same. I won't be doing that. You go ahead, do that. Take the import from me. It is from sklearn dot tree import decision tree classifier. Okay, that is it. That is all what you need to know about a machine learning algorithm to implement that if it is in sklearn. Actually, you just need to know this name and import, that's all actually. But it requires a lot of understanding that which algorithm to choose. There are 100 or more. So go ahead, write a skeleton, make an x and y on random, and implement that decision tree classifier. Similarly, model.fit, model.predict, model.score, everything will work. Just the name of the model, the choice of the model should be this. That's all what you need to do. Inside this, what we have to call? I didn't get it. This is the entire import part. Okay, see, if you are confusing that, it is simply an import of your model. This is what the import is, if you can see it on my screen. Now with this import, you need to import this model and define this as model is equals to this, just like we did with logistic regression. And then we need to pass on like model.fit, model.predict. We need to pass on x and y, and which you need to create randomly, or you can take any data set. So if you already have a data set which you are working on, or you have implemented logistic regression over it or so then you can use this simply. Just change the logistic with decision trees and check the accuracy. It might increase or decrease, that's not the question. But the thing is, it will work well. Yeah, what you need to do is I just gave you an import part. What you need to do is you need to make a skeleton of machine learning algorithm. Just we write it normally, we make it in dummy x and y, and then we pass on the model and we train the model with simple model.fit API of SQL. Okay, so you just need to make a skeleton again, okay, with dummy x and y values. Use this model. I gave you an import statement right on just 2-3 messages back. Use that import and then train the model and then at last predict the score for that. So how many of you have done that? Anyone? Or if you're having doubts, you are facing issues, just let me know. Okay. What about others? Okay, good. Amar, Nitika, Remjim, how long will it take? DLL. Oh, well, you need to struggle a lot with the DLL part. That it's not going to be improved so easily. Yeah, you need to train and test both the things you need to work on actually. Instead of testing, you can also try predicting or scoring the model. Alright, so Nitika only is left, I guess. Make it happen fast, Nitika. Just make these skeletons your daily routine. Like, these should not be forgotten so easily. it's almost done by all of you. Let's move ahead with the next part. Now, what else I want to talk about is random forest. And before random forest, I want to talk about something like bagging and boosting, concepts of ensemble modeling. What is the meaning of ensemble? Ensemble means ensemble. What is the meaning of ensemble in general? So let's okay, simple meaning. A group of items viewed as a whole rather than individually. A group of musicians, actors, or dancers who perform together, or in general, simply a group of things. So what is ensemble modeling? A group of different machine learning models working together and collectively known as one model. That is what ensemble modeling looks like. So there are two types of ensemble model, which are bagging and boosting. Let's firstly talk about what is bagging. So what will be going on in the bagging part? We have a big of data set. Okay, more beautiful. We have a type of data set. Now what we do, we basically divide this data set into few parts, something like this. Then we pass this part to a different model. Every rhombus is a model, just consider it like this to another model, this to another model, and this to another model. Okay, so all the models will give some or the other output. We train these models accordingly. Okay, so this model will be trained, this model will be trained, this model will be trained, and this model will be trained. Something like model 1, model 2, model 3, model 4. What will be the end result? Now, whenever you will get something to be predicted, you say something like this entirely you are calling as final model. So when you say final model dot predict 22, okay, suppose this is your feature set 22, and you want to predict the value for that. So that 22 will be predicted with this one, this one, this one, and this one. And at the last, if it is a classification stuff, so a voting will be conducted that this returns true for whatever, like at the age of 22 you need to get married or not. So this returns true, false, false, and false. So then the end result is false with a confidence of 75%. So this is simple like a board meeting without any veto power. So a board meeting is going on whether we need to collaborate with company X or not. So there are 7 board members, out of them 2 are saying no, 5 are saying yes. That means the company should collaborate, the company will collaborate. And what is the confidence of the relation? 5 out of 7. Okay, because 5 people are voting for that. Simply, we have individual models, highly trained models, but the final model is a composition of all the different models. How will it work in regression? Suppose we have 5 people in the board group, or similarly 7 people in the board group, and we said okay, we want to purchase any company, we want to acquire any company. Now what is the evaluation, what is the money we need to pay? Suppose the simple question that what should be the amount with which we need to purchase the company. Someone say 30 crore, someone say 40 crore, someone say 20 crore, someone say this and this, with whatever reasoning. Obviously they are board members, so they are highly qualified and they are not talking about random numbers only. At the last, what will come up is the average of all of them. So hence this ensemble bagging model can be turned as a classification part or a regression part. How for classification? That this entire stuff will pass on as the voting to conduct the classification, simply like your elections, Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha, state elections, central elections, all the elections. So it's like there are individual MLAs or MPs or so, and the voting of MLAs. I'm not much into politics, so I don't know much about this stuff, but it is something like there are 20 seats for MLAs or MPs, MLAs I guess they are, okay, and out of those 27 are from A party and 13 are from B party, so that means party B has won that place, they'll be the CM, something like this used to happen, right? And in the case of regression, what is going on? The same thing. If suppose we are talking about house price and there are 3 people in your family, you, your mother and your father, who are deciding for the value of house to be sold at. someone says 5 lakhs, another person said 7 lakh, another person said 6.2 lakh. And what is your overall average? Somewhere close to 6.05 lakh or so. So this 6.05 lakh will be your price. Simple enough. This is how does a simple bagging model works. What is going on in bagging? The data will get split into bags, different small bags. Okay, every bag will be trained by different model, and we will be having n models in the last. So it looks something like this. If I can show you something on Google, bagging. Okay, this is a prior distribution. So you have a model, you have a data rather, this one on the left. Then you have splitted the data into some whatever number of parts. It's hidden because there are multiples. And then last you are passing it to different classifier, and the combination of these classifier is known as ensemble. And then you are passing on test data to the ensemble. Ensemble is nothing but the collection of models, and it is making predictions because of all of them. Suppose we are talking about this blue point. So this blue point has been referred to be blue by 5 classifiers, green by 3 classifiers, and yellow by 1 classifier. Okay, so 5 plus 3 plus 1 8. That means we had 8 classifiers right here. 1 2 till n till 8, and that means the final result will be a blue classifier with the confidence to be 5 out of 8, somewhere more than 50%, 55 or so. So confidence will be 55% or 60% or whatever the value of 5 by 8 is, right? So this is how does a simple bagging approach works. And is it parallel or serial? Will it be trained parallelly or serially? It will be trained parallelly. All the bags can be trained parallelly. Like this is a different dataset, different model. 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 So it can be trained parallelly on multiple CPUs, multiple servers, multiple models getting trained at a time if your configuration of CPU allows this to be. Is entire bagging concept clear to you? It's like a jury for data, kind of, yeah. So every model, individual model is a jury member, board of director or the judge. And what is the end result? Whatever the voting comes out to be. So ensemble I have defined earlier only that what is the meaning of ensemble? A group of items which are referred collectively rather than individual. A group of musicians who are known as band are known as ensemble of musicians, something like this. Data set is split into different models or whole data set is copied. No, data set is split into parts. So I told you right there as well that this data is basically split into 4 parts for 4 different models. And similarly, if there would be 20 different models, so 20 different parts of the data would be done. Right? Is this thing clear? And you need not do this hard work by your own. It's entirely compiled into sklearn. You just need to define your model to be a bagging model. Just like we changed one line for decision trees, one more line for random forest, which is the bagging model I will be explaining about. But if the data set is splitted, so there would be different sets of data and will different results for the given set of data. So how? No, actually there would be different set of data. The data would be different, separated into different parts, but it will be trained on different models. There will be different models. So if one model is committing any mistake for another one particular choice of data, test data, then another will cover it up. So it is like a bilateral collaboration that if one is making any mistake, the another one is covering it up. if the second one is making any mistake, the first one is covering it up. Something like this will keep on going. And this is a highly proven model that it will be going to work for majority of your purposes, and it works for even that. It's a common lame myth. I would not say myth. I even have tested it out on my own part, that when when you are not getting with the data set that what to do, what type of model to choose, whether it be hyperplane separation with SVM or it be linear separation with logistic regression or what, then you simply can go with random forest. It do work. This is a simple statement into the machine learning, although it is non-official, simply lame, but yeah, it's a kind of hack tricks you can say, like. Okay, I'll explain it one more time, but still the data set of data is different. See, what is the data all about? You have 100 features. Now when you split them into 10 parts, you split them actually into 10 identical parts. Your data values will be different, but the trend of data will remain entirely same. Right? I have shown you an example. Into this one, see that although the trend was different, but it was not like that all the oranges here, all the blues here, all the greens here. No, few of orange, few of green, few of blue. Again right here few orange, few blue, few green, and right here again few blue, few green, few orange. So the trend of the data will remain entirely same. Again repeating this, we have a big pool of data. Let me just get it over. Okay, so we have a big pool of data. It's getting difficult to draw right here. Okay, and there are 100 rows into this, suppose. So there are 100 rows into this one. Now what I'm doing, I'm splitting them into 4 parts. Okay, so this is model 1, model 2, model 3 and model 4. Each part will go to like 250 rows for this. Okay, so there were 100, so 25 rows for this, 25 for this, 25 for this, 25 for this, and this model will be trained. We have the trained model now. So whenever we say something like ensemble model dot predict for anything, it will be predicted by all 4 of them, and if it is a classification, then a voting will be considered, and if it is a regressor, then a regression average would be considered into this to give the total sum output of the bagging model. This is how does a simple bagging model operates. That you split the data, you make different bags of data, bag 1, bag 2, bag n. You attach a classifier to each of the bag, and then at last your ensemble classifier is ready with the bagging, and you make the prediction out of it. That's how it works. Yeah, random forest I'll come up with, don't worry for that part. Okay, I hope Amar, Jim, Jaren, everyone, it's so clear to you as of now, bagging part. That hack thing you were saying. Okay, so that okay, fine. So that hack thing is that, see, it's a simple, whenever you work into any terminology, you get involved into different communities, you get involved into different like-minded people. So if you're an Android developer, you know very well that how to solve a Gradle problem, even if that is not documented by Android. Okay, if you are working over anything, like even if you are making coffee since last 10 years, then you know how to make coffee if you do not have enough amount of sugar, if you don't have enough amount of milk, if you have over poured sugar into it, then how will you neutralize that? If you have placed less amount of sugar into it, then how will you neutralize? Simple, there are a lot of hacks for that. So similarly into concept of machine learning, whenever you get a first sight into data, you land up with your plans. Okay, I'll do this, do this, do this, do this. I'll pre-process the data. I'll do this sort of step, this sort of scaling. And when you end up doing this, the data science part, you will think of, okay, this is my data. I have understood this data a lot with the graphs or so. Now, what sort of, I'm not talking about the choice of data, that is it, I'm getting no difference in logistic regression and decision tree out. That's completely fine, because we are not concerning the data set to be a scaled data set. We're just talking about a normal data set. So we are not talking about accuracy or so into a very normalistic data set. Okay, coming back to the thing, what I was saying is that when you actually fiddle around, so you find out, okay, this is a supervised learning part and this is a classification. Now there are 100 and more classification algorithms right there into sklearn, or some of them are even not into sklearn. People have, suppose I am a scientist, okay, and I have developed my own my own version of SVM, my own version of any classification model, and I have not published that to sklearn, or sklearn haven't accepted mine, but still it is going good. Okay, or with my ego or so I have refused to connect to sklearn, but it is publicly open. So then what will be going to happen is that there are enough of sklearn's model and enough of non-sklearn's model as well, which you can use. The question arises that which model to use. That's what we are learning with each and every model right here. We've talked about logistic, SVM, KNN, and this is decision tree, all for classification, and even we have talked about naive Bayes as well. So then when you find out, okay, there is nothing identical about SVM into this, nothing identical about logistic into this, we are so much confused at what to be put in, what not to be put in, then the simple ideation is use random forest. That's it. Use random forest. It will give you not your expected result, but still better than others. If you are not getting any trend. Yeah, if you are getting a trend of logistic regression, but you are using random forest, then definitely it will turn down the accuracy. Logistic regression will perform better. But a general thing to say is that if you don't know anything, what to put in, if you are not getting anything, put it with random forest. That's how it is going to work. Right? Is it clear? That's a simple, non-formal, unofficial sort of thing I was discussing about. Predictions comes after bagging of data. Well, not. Bagging of data means simply chunking the data into parts. This is the meaning of bagging of data. Okay, this part, this layer, this is layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, let's say. So layer 1 is entire data set training sample. Layer 2 is bagging of data. Layer 3 is attaching a classifier to each data set, each bag of data. And layer 4 is prediction with the data. So prediction will come when your entire model set will be ready and you have collectively called it as an ensemble model, and when you will pass test data to it, then the prediction will come. And prediction will be a result of all the jury members, as wisely said by Remjem, that random or an ensemble bagging model is a kind of collection of jury members right there. So while importing bagging classifier, we have to give the model name to within it through which we want to pass. Yes, you need to, but as of now, we'll be going to see the generalized and the most widely used bagging models. Let's move on to that. So the thing which I want to talk about is random forest. What is random forest? You have data set, again the same thing. We have discussed about that we need to make 4 classifiers which can be same or different. What is precise about random forest is you need not to make 4 classifiers. You need to make 4 decision trees. This is very precise. That it cannot be logistic regression, it cannot be SVM, it cannot be anything. It should precisely be only and only decision tree. Then this ensemble, this is just I am denoting this circle to be decision tree, that these all things will be identical. Then this entire bagging structure will be called as random forest. So random forest is nothing. Again, it provides both the things, regression and classification. So random forest is nothing but an implementation of multiple decision trees over different bags of data, trained individually, parallelly, uninterruptedly to each other, all parallel to each other, and then at last they are making. Okay, so random forest is a precise bagging model, a conditioned bagging model in which the condition is that the classifier should only and only be decision trees. That's it. If you look at a random forest is a simple bagging technique, nothing else. Okay, a bagging technique with different. Something wrong on my internet. Am I audible clearly to all of you? Yeah. Okay. My internet is basically creating issues also. So random forest is simply different decision trees trained over different bag of data, and at last it is every decision tree is contributing some value, something like this. Okay, so you passed an instance. The first tree has predicted, if you can see on the top left of the image, it's not getting loaded for some reason. That first tree has said tree 1, second tree has said tree 2, third tree has said tree 1, I guess. No, it's tree 2. It's tree 2, class B. So class A, class B, and the overall voting will be class B with the confidence of 3 by 2. So tree 1, tree 2, and at last tree n. So one has said A, second has said B, and all of the trees, and at last has said B. So suppose there are only tree 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, 3 will said A, B, B. That means the overall result will be class B with the confidence of 66.6% in the case of 3 trees. This is what a simple random forest look like, something like this as well again. So this predicted 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay, so how many ones are there? 4 and 5 and 6. Okay, and how many zeros are there? 3. So the total prediction will be 1, and tally is 6 ones and 3 zeros, so that the total prediction will be 1. And what is the confidence? 6 by 9. That means 2 by 3, 66.6% again. Okay, so that means 66% of your data set of your of your model is saying that it is 1. Rest of your 33% confidence is 0. It is bit more likely to be the same understanding with the KNN. KNN also worked like the same. Different decision trees framed over, yeah, exactly. So different decision trees framed over different bags of data. Okay, all the decision trees I have shown you right there. So there were 9 decision trees into that image. So every decision tree is framed over different bag of data, and at last it is predicting accordingly their training. What is diff ID? I didn't get it. What is diff ID? Where is diff ID? I'm not getting your question, Nitika. What is diff ID? I didn't get it. What do you mean by diff ID? Okay. All right. So, well, this is the decision tree part. So, decision tree is a classical example of bagging, a highly used, versatile, very popular, very commonly used, and very good amount of result giving way of bagging. And there is another term like which is boosting. Now, let's understand what is boosting. Okay, so you have a data, entire group of data. Okay, or let's draw it in the form of rectangle. Okay, you pass this data to one model. Okay, this model gave 70% result. That means out of every 100, 30 of these rows were not classified properly. Okay, so that means we need to train it again, but we will not train this model. What we will do, we will take this output and train it on another model. Now the weight for these 30 will be bit more improved, bit slightly more improved. Then what will be going to happen? This model will give something like 72. So obviously all the previous 70s will be classified correctly, and out of others 30, 28 got failed and 2 have got correct results. So because of bit more improvement, then these 28s will be predicted focused. Okay, then it turned out to be 75. This is what the simple boosting model look like. So boosting is a serial model. Bagging was a parallel model. Parallelly bagging can be done because there were different set of data for every model, and there were different model which has nothing to do with each other. But right here, only and only when first model will get trained, then the second model will start its training, because it requires the weight, the coefficient from the previous model. Then only and only when second model will be completed training and giving the result, then third model will start its training. This is why boosting is a serial mechanism, and what it does, it keep on boosting the weak classifiers to turn out to a strong classifier. What was the phenomena with bagging? Parallelly, various weak classifiers turned out to be strong classifier. Why weak classifier? Because there was 1,000 row data set and there were 10 decision trees, that means, or 10 classifiers in the bagging in general, not in random forest, in general bagging. So that means you have splitted the data into 100, 100, 100, 100. So your each classifier is trained on only 100 data sets. So that is a weak classifier. But when 10 weak classifiers will be trained and will be working collaboratively, it will be known as a bit more than strong classifier. So that's why they were working. And now what is the purpose of boosting? It is turning a weak classifier slowly and steadily to a strong classifier. It's not grouping it with anyone else, but it is turning a weak classifier slowly and steadily to a strong classifier. And at last we'll be having the prediction part. So I can again want to show you just a basic graphical of boosting. Still not here. I'm looking out for some example to work on. Okay, something like this. So you have a trained classifier which is giving three negative results. So these are the two highlighted errors and this is an highlighted error. So this dashed line is the basically separation line. So with your separation line you can see that there is a plus above the separation line which is not supposed to be there, and there are two minuses below the separation line. Then you pass this output to another trained classifier which trained it again on a separate mode. So it said, okay, now there are three minus on the right of it which were not supposed to be there, rest of the things are completely fine. This is what it said. It focused on this misclassified part. Okay, these two misclassified parts. I hope it is visible to you because the lower part is not yet loaded. The image is only this. Okay, then again these are the misclassified values. Then the focus will be placed over this one, this plus one. Okay, it turned out to be a different well. Again some errors. So with the help of this series, at last they are coming up with something like this, which is highly accurate. So they came up with different. So this is a simplified version, but it's a more of 2D data with only plus and minus as the classes. This will not be going to work at all in your realistic case. But this is something how a boosting works. So you have a first step, which is the input for second step, which is the input for third step. So it's a kind of pipeline. This is how does a boosting model operates. More precise on this, you have a trained data set, model, predictions, errors, again train that, again errors, again train that. A kind of pipeline is being followed. This is what does a boosting means. And if I can get some graphics, yeah, that's what I was looking for, bagging and boosting. So bagging is a parallel mechanism which has nothing to do with each other. Each of three can be trained on altogether different systems actually. And whereas boosting means one step only after the before one, next step only after the previous one, next step only after the previous one. This is what it will be basically working on. Right, so is it clear what is boosting all about? Can you share this image? It's already on Google. I just have searched for boosting. It will be there. This particular one you are talking about, you can take the screenshot. I'll open that. I hope it will be done. You have taken the screenshot. Alright, so let's move on with the part that what is boosting, what is bagging we have talked about. Any doubt into this entire boosting and bagging mechanism? Am I audible to you? Because there is some serious internet issues going on my side. Okay, so bagging, we talked about what is bagging, the parallel way of executing multiple jury members, as she said, or in general training different models, so that the weak model can be combined together to form a strong team of members, which altogether will be known as an ensemble model. Whereas boosting, on the other hand, is something which, okay, so another a classical use case or kind of classical realization of bagging is random forest. Boosting, on the other hand, is something which trains which get trained on the data, and next model will be trained over precisely more focused over the errors created by first model, right? So suppose like first teacher came and it trained a group of 100 people, and the first teacher gave feedback to the second teacher that these four people are not properly comfortable with my topic. Now second teacher came, he taught, or he or she taught all the 100 people, but put a bit more of extra focus on those four people. Then the second teacher gave the feedback to the third teacher that out of those four, now one of them has been resolved. Now rest three are need to go for more improvement. Then the next teacher put give more focus on those three people, and altogether trained all the 100 students. This is how the things will work. So after some number of iterations, you will be getting good amount of response from those 3-4 students as well. And similarly, right here, what are those 3-4 students? The error creating rows. So those particular rows which are creating errors, now they are even being resolved by the boosting mechanism. This is what does a simple boosting mechanism look like. Now let's head over to implement random forest by our own. And how to implement random forest? Just change the import. It's again your task. Change the import from sklearn.ensemble import random forest classifier or regressor depending on your choice of data. That's what you need to change right there. Okay, moreover, there is a parameter of n which is equals to, how can you check the parameter, how to tune the parameter, that will be going to talk about in the next class most probably. So how can you check that, which are the possible parameters? Just head over to the official page of sklearn of random forest or so. Okay, you can say that n estimator, not n, it's n estimator. So what is n estimator? The number of trees in the forest. Okay, the number of individual models you want to get, and this is a bagging mechanism, and what every tree should be following, Gini or entropy. This was the same in the case of decision tree as well. Okay, what are the different parameters for decision tree? Criteria, which is Gini or entropy, splitter to be best or random, let it be best only, and then some of the things I want to talk about as of now. These things I will be going to talk about. Okay, so which is by default Gini. Gini is good one to go with, so need not to tweak it until unless you will get any requirement. And then we'll be going to talk about hyperparameter in the next class, hyperparameter tuning. So then we will put focus on these things again. Right, as of now you just need to work on n estimator. If you are lagging memory or you want to test the thing fastly, so you can just make n estimators to be 10 simply, no more for 100 estimators also. Okay, so this is what a simple random forest look like, and this is how you can implement random forest just with a single line of change. Now I hope you are more confident with the thing that machine learning is not at all about coding. No, if you think like it is more of Python or R or Matplotlib or pandas, no, they are just one of the way to realize the machine learning as a whole. ML is more general into concepts. Coding is the way to express those concepts to the machine and to get the result, nothing else. Coming on to the tree structure again. Okay, so I'll be drawing a tree. This is what does my simple decision tree look like. Okay, and this is not a multi-class, this is not a binary class decision tree, this is a multi-class decision tree. Now the thing is, some terminologies are, I told you the root node, parent node for this and this is the parent node for this and this, and these all four are leaf nodes. Okay, now if we keep on growing, what I said, when the decision tree will stop its training, when all the leaf nodes will be pure, but this might end up in overfitting of the model, that it will find and it will train on the non-genuine noise as well. Okay, so that overfitting can be removed by few of the concepts of greedy approach, which are that we can specify what should be the minimum sample in a node which wants to be splitted. So this node need to be splitted, so it need to have minimum 100 samples, then only it can be splitted. This is something which we can specify. Or else we can specify that what should be the minimum number of nodes in a terminal. If this terminal is having 20 nodes and we have specified that it should be having 100 nodes, then these two terminals should be merged, or the splitting should not be performed. So we can specify that this node will be splitted only and only if it is having more than 100 nodes, and each terminal should have at least 40 nodes. You cannot split like 10 and 90. You need to have the terminals with at least 40 nodes. If you can split, then do split. If you cannot split, just leave it like that. This is what it is. Another thing is we can specify the max depth of the tree. Right here the depth is 3, first, 2 and third, first, second and third. You can specify the max depth of the tree, or else we can specify the maximum number of the terminals, that means the width of the tree, the bottom width. So these are the few things which we can tweak in order to prevent a tree to get overfitted, and these all things fall under the domain of greedy methods. What do I mean by greedy method? Suppose there is a road. Okay, there is a road. Greedy method is just thinking of now on the time, and I got this example from, I guess, from Medium or so. I was reading a blog for this. So there is a road into which there are trucks going on into this lane. Okay, and your car is stuck right here. Or let's take the simple example that there are cars going on into this lane. So these are cars which are going on at 80 km per hour speed. I'm representing that with 80 km per hour. What you did, you want to overcross them, you changed the lane. Okay, you went into this lane. Okay, now, like just after ahead, you find it that okay, I want to walk over with 100 km per hour, so I need to overtake. You did. What you find that there are trucks going on with 30 km per hour. Now you cannot overtake, and you cannot stay back, because now the speed of the truck is 30 km per hour. Because of your greedy reason right here, you have not thought of future, you just have thought for the moment of time, that moment of time. Because of that greedy reason, you have fall into a global minima problem. Right there, what is the meaning of global minima problem? That means that this is something best for your local instance, but this turned out to be a wrong action for the overall stuff. So this is something we need to remove, and for that we don't set these parameter, minimum number of nodes into terminal, minimum number of nodes to be splitted, or so or so. We talk about pruning. What is pruning? That let that tree grow completely. If I can get back the tree again, let me, no, I cannot. Okay, so what is the meaning of pruning? That let that tree be grown completely first. something like this. Okay, a lot of connections in between them also. Then at last we can prune the trees with one or the other mechanism, and pruning will start from bottom to top. So we will not take any action until unless the tree is grown completely. But after the tree has been grown, now we can see that there is a lot of noise right there. It has captured minute problems into this, which can be accidental or very much specific to a user, and which is not a generic stuff. Okay, like suppose one user is earning 10 lakh rupee per year and is spending 20 lakh rupee per year for whatever reason. Like this could be only one user, or out of 100 this could be only there could be only one or two users like this, but it is learning that thing which should not be learned. The exception should not be focused on. So then we can start from the bottom to the top to go for the pruning. And what do I mean by pruning? Just remove a branch, cut the connection. So if we cut this connection, that means this yellow line will be raised, and that means this subtree has nothing to do with this entire tree. This part has been pruned. Pruned is just like the way you shape your the way you garden your trees, the way you shape your garden trees, right? You let that tree grow particularly, and then at last you cut some of the bushes which are not following up the shape, and this way you can see a lot of groomed gardens also. If I can get you some example, something like this. This is the realistic meaning of pruning, but in the case of decision trees, not getting an example right here. These are the terminologies only, but something like this. Okay, you have a tree and you are crossing a limb from there. So tree pruning is identify and remove the irrelevant branches to increase the classification accuracy, not overfitting, to go for the best fit. It might end up reducing a bit on training accuracy, but it will definitely increase the testing accuracy. So let's see on the module. We talked about the decision tree introduction, intuition, its mechanism, its implementation, and we created for our own. And then we talked about max step, min list, pruning, criterion, all that optimization part. Then we worked over random forest, introduction, intuition, and all, and then ensemble modeling. Right? Any doubt into this entire part of tree-based learning? Any doubt right there? Doubt? Yes, Nivika and Amma, you can go. Anyone else who is having any other doubt into this entire stuff, into this entire module 8? So you can check that we have actually covered even module 8, and I'll just share my screen. No problem, welcome. Yeah, we did pruning stuff. Yeah, the video will be shared. I'll just merge the video and share it. So the decision tree would, the module 8 we have covered, module 9 we have already covered, module 10 we have already covered. So we are actually done all the way to module 10. We are just left with module 11, second part of module 12 and the extras. So the next class will be more over module 11 and module 12. This is what we'll be going to learn in the next class. Alright, so any other question, any other doubt, any query, any discussion from any one of you? Okay, so no questions, no doubt. Pruning usage is just to not let the tree overfitted. If you're capturing noise and again and again like this, I just have closed that tab, I guess. Yeah. I cannot get that figure again. But what I have shown you is that when we have overgrown a tree over than usual, just for the case of noises, so we need to prune that. You said about training accuracy, so we calculate training score separately and then we go for testing. Exactly, yeah. Before you go for the testing, you need to check your training score. So if your training score is not good, that means the data has not even understood the training part. Like suppose I am teaching you this is the way you need to write 1, 2, 3, 4, and you are not able to. Okay, see the simple thing. When we teach someone, when we teach a kid, we teach them a table of 2, table of 3, table of 4, and we keep on testing the person again and again and again and again for 2 years or 3 years, like second class, third class, fourth class. And once we are qualified, once we are confident enough that this person now knows the table of 2, 3, 4, then we ask them, okay, narrate the table of 12, narrate the table of 13, 14. Now we are overtrained to even narrate the table of 125, 170 because we know the trick. Although it might take time, we will not be so much frequent like 2 and the 2, 2 to the 4. Obviously, no. But even we can narrate the table of anything, any random number like 139. It might take time, but we know the logic behind that. So we keep on training and we keep on checking the accuracy on training again and again and again. And once we'll be qualified enough for this training part, and then we'll be moving to the testing. Yeah. All right then. See you all in the next class. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you.